you need to work on a very important task, such as studying for an exam, or brainstorming on your business, or doing that important presentation at work. However, you keep postponing that work, you keep procrastinating, and as the time goes by, you haven't achieved what you wanted and you feel frustrated. In today's video, we will be talking about the neuroscience behind procrastination, so why we procrastinate on doing important tasks, and I will also share 3 simple steps on how to solve this problem. More in today's video. Hi, I have a PhD in neuroscience, and on the channel Neuroproductivity, we talk about becoming more productive using principles of neuroscience. Let's today talk about why we procrastinate and how to solve this problem. Let's say you really need to work on something important, studying for an exam, working on your project, preparing a presentation, but you tend to procrastinate. Most of the people think that's because they're lazy or undisciplined. However, that's rarely the case. Actually, what oftentimes happens when the task is very difficult is that it triggers a fear response in our brain. So basically, the brain sees that task as a threat, as something dangerous. When that happens, the part of the brain called amygdala gets activated, which is in charge of the fear response. Once the amygdala gets activated, it in turn inhibits prefrontal cortex. And prefrontal cortex is the part of the brain that is in charge of focus and decision making. So basically, when the task is big and scary, prefrontal cortex is not working well, so we cannot make the right decision. So instead of choosing to work, that is a better decision, we choose the worst decision, which is to procrastinate. Now we understood that oftentimes we're not lazy when we procrastinate, we are just afraid. How to solve this problem? If you realize that you are afraid of a task or that you're getting overwhelmed, number one thing you should do is to do task chunking, meaning you take a task and you separate it into smaller pieces. I will give you an example. So instead of saying I'm going to prepare 200 pages for my exam, say today I'm going to prepare 10 pages. Or instead of saying I'm going to work out every day for 2 hours, you say I'm going to work out first for 15 minutes. So you chunk the task into smaller pieces, and then it's going to be less overwhelming for the brain, and it's less likely that the amygdala prefrontal cortex system is going to get activated, and in turn you will be able to make a better decision. I talk much more about this in some of my other videos, so make sure to subscribe to stay up to date and also like this video to support my channel. So that was number 1, task chunking. Number 2, which helps me a lot, is to sit down and write on a piece of paper things that you have achieved so far. For example, if you are studying for an exam, you can say, it's okay, I already passed 10 exams, I can pass this one. Or if you're studying a new language and you feel overwhelmed, you can say, 3 languages, I can learn the 3rd one. This was the case for me and my French learning. I will get really overwhelmed by studying French, but then I kept reminding myself that I already managed to learn English, so I could learn probably French as well. So this exercise is great to relieve anxiety and also to build up your self-confidence. So you are giving your brain evidence that you are strong enough, that you can do it, and there is no reason to be so afraid. And most likely the anxiety will go down and you will be able to start working. Number 3, when you feel like the task is overwhelming, what you can do is to set a 15 minutes timer and work only for 15 minutes. Why does this work? For 2 different reasons. First of all, because working for 15 minutes doesn't sound that difficult, right? Saying I'm going to sit down and just work for 15 minutes doesn't seem scary. Or I'm going to sit down and just study for 15 minutes doesn't sound like too much. I used to do that for my French language learning and it worked great. So that is the first thing. 50 minutes is just a low ball and doesn't seem too difficult, so you will most likely be able to do it. Second effect is what happens when we work for 15 minutes is that we are going to reach deep focus. In the first 15 minutes, we might be a little bit distracted and we might be more likely to procrastinate. But after 15 minutes, we will reach a flow state where we are just so focused and we are actually going to start to enjoy our work. That is why this 15 minutes rule is so powerful and I use it a lot. So set a 15 minutes timer, focus on that thing for 15 minutes, and you see after 15 minutes you will probably be willing to continue working. And if you want your own personalized anti-procrastination system, you might be a good candidate for my coaching program, Neural Productivity. To learn more about the program, you should schedule a free 30 minutes discovery call. You can schedule the call by clicking on the link in my description. So you click on that link and you schedule the discovery call. Make sure to use this opportunity. Now, to summarize this video, oftentimes we procrastinate because we get scared, and when we are afraid, the prefrontal cortex is going to be inhibited, so we are not able to make the right decision and we choose to procrastinate instead of working. There are 3 steps to take in order to solve this problem. First one is to chunk tasks into smaller pieces. Second one is to write down everything you have achieved so far to boost your morale. And the third thing is to set a 15 minutes timer and to work on that task for 15 minutes. And after that, you will probably reach the flow and you will be able to continue working. Thank you so much for watching this video. Like it, subscribe, and see you in my other videos.